Merci. Rasmus. I am one of the co-founders of Københavns Bageri. We're a very traditionally founded bakery doing only old school pastries, bread, cakes, which means we don't go the innovative, creative way. We go more the traditional way. Predominantly because we didn't really feel like anybody else was doing it. And historically in Copenhagen, if you wanted to get these grandma kind of cakes and pastries, you would have to go to the old school bakeries, and they just really give poor quality, to be honest. So we've kind of just tried to elevate and update all the classics. I am a chef by training and kind of just ended up doing sourdough bread as a chef, and that kind of caught my attention to focus on detail. I'm very pastry educated. And I ended up doing the bread at Noma 10 years ago, and that kind of got me locked in on bread. And then when I left the industry, because let's be honest, it's not the most sustainable industry if you want to have a family eventually. I ended up working with bread for a few years at a big company, and then I opened my own bakery, Benji, 4 years ago, without ever working in a bakery. That is not recommendable. That was a very tough learning curve of just trying and failing a lot. Then I had Benji for 2.5 years, and then me and my current partner Anders kind of joint venture. Anders had Alice in Amager, which was a tiny bakery, coffee shop, ice creamery, and we built Copenhagen's Bakery together. Predominantly because we needed a bigger production space, both of us. We were kind of outgrowing our DIY bakeries that we had built ourselves, which were very tiny. And then we built this place together, and that kind of took off extremely fast. So now we just have everything together and run everything as one big company. What is setting this bakery apart from other bakeries is very difficult, because Copenhagen is it's a very competitive, extremely high quality bakery scene, with a lot of people doing amazing. As mentioned earlier, we're doing very traditionally funded pastries, breads, cakes, which is kind of countering the whole creative, innovative vibe that's going on, where it's all about having the new that you haven't seen before kind of pastry, which Benji also was before. And we kind of just realized, both Anders and I being Danish, that nobody was doing a kindle. Nobody was doing what else have we been doing in æblekage traditionally, apart from the big mainstream bakeries. So we kind of just saw like what would we wanted to eat ourselves, and what was pretty much just not being present in the scene, and that kind of just made us into this very backwards looking place, but with the same values as most of the other amazing bakeries who are doing very well in Copenhagen. The values, we are extremely, I would say to a certain degree, radical when it comes to our ingredients. We try to source the best within each segment, and then we make a food cost based on that. So everything we try to get in-house is the best that we can source. When it comes to flour, a lot of it is also our style here. Spices, chocolate, vanilla, we work with very small producers. We try to not go big, but find the tiny producers that have a different aspect on how to farm and how to treat workers, because a lot of the stuff comes from third world countries, to be honest. And just showcase the produce basically. That's why we also just have our baked goods. We don't sell a shit ton of different types of whatever that you see a lot of bakeries do. All good to them, but for us it's just, we want to just highlight that this is what we do, this is what we're good at, and this is why people should come. And then we're trying slowly to work into how to build a place that is slightly more sustainable to work in. It's a very rough job with intense hours and extremely hard labor. And we've just been very fortunate to be a size now where we can start to put some effort and money into making the production slightly more sustainable, giving people more time off, getting physiotherapy, getting private health insurance, because it is, no matter how you treat it, it's a very rough job to be a baker. Early morning hours and lifting a lot of kilos throughout the day. A Friday for us, the guy who is mixing is taking out 500 kg of dough in a shift. That's just like rough on the body. So that is where we want to go going forward, is a more sustainable place where people can see themselves have families, they want to stay for more than just a year to two, which is very normal in the industry. We are located in Carlsberg, which is a very new part of town. It's not even done yet. It's going to be done next year. And that was also part of our, let's try to look back a little bit, is that it's a very old historical area that has been rebuilt basically. It's the old brewery ground. That obviously also meant there was no bakeries out here. That's going to make it slightly easier, because Copenhagen is pretty much flooded with bakeries these days, and a lot of them are amazing. And that creates a certain expectation, because people are used to amazing produce, they're used to amazing products, and that has been very frontiered by chefs who 5-6 years ago left the industry, and for some reason a lot of us were looking into bread, probably because it was a slightly more sustainable lifestyle. And the curiosity that chefs have when they do something is, compared to a lot of other artisanal crafts, more open-minded, more exploring. And I think that's why we've seen this boom in not only bakeries and high-quality bakeries, but also extremely innovative bakeries that offers very different products, instead of just having a bunch of bakeries offering the same take on something different. We again try to differentiate us a little bit by looking backwards, which also makes it slightly more difficult, since there's a very international crowd here, and teaching people how to do classic Danish pastries when they never lived in Denmark is quite difficult. So that's a slow process we have ongoing. We do have a Danish baker hired as well, but it makes it a little bit more difficult because innovation is not something we really want to tap into here. We are doing that going forward with Benji, because Benji has been very innovative and we want to go back to that. So very soon we're going to start introducing a playground, not just for the customers, but also for the bakers to have a very creative outlet. For us, it's the kringle. We put it on when we opened. There's a tradition in Denmark of doing very big pieces of pastry, and then you sell them by the slice when you go back. This comes from bakeries and a time where it was all about price range and doing it as cheap as possible. And it's very labor efficient, thank you, to do a big piece instead of a lot of small pieces. When you take that approach into what we do now, where it's the quality is being maxed out and we're trying to get the best produce in, suddenly you end up with a big piece of pastry that's extremely expensive. Obviously not when you sell it by the slice. But a month after we opened, we kind of went viral because we sold the most expensive kringle in Denmark at 300 kroner. And a lot of tabloid newspapers thought that was fun and tried to get us down. And luckily the opposite happened, that everybody who tried it said, well, this is pretty cheap compared to the quality. And again, saying 300 kroner at a pastry, yeah, that's a lot, but it was probably a pastry for 10 people. So at the end of the day, they just tried to get a lot of clickbait out of it, and we got so much attention out of it that pretty much everybody in, I would say, almost Denmark, because there was a lot of people in Jutland who were outraged about the price. And I don't think you can get a better start. It's always nice when people love to hate you, as long as there's also a few who love to love you. But again, we're not afraid of having these price points, because we do think the products talk for themselves. Apart from being delicious, again, we're trying to hit for Danes some kind of memory, because it's the products that they've had when they were kids, and they either spent time with their grandma, or they went to the summer house and they bought the shitty bread, the rundstykke, and the disgusting pastries based on margarine from the local bakery. But tapping into people's emotions is very, very difficult, but it can be very giving if you get it right. And I think that's part of why people like to come here, is that it's not a new pastry that's amazing because they never tried this combo before. It's an amazing pastry because all this reminds me of something. It's the people who live here, which is kind of my age, 35 plus minus, have a kid or two. It's a quite expensive area, so they are well off, and they are wearing all the right brands and have all the right Emil Junga trolleys and 66 degrees north and Patagonia and all these things, and that kind of lifestyle just includes today also buying expensive pastries and proper bread. So we've very, very, very fast gotten an extremely big crowd out here. We didn't know this before we moved here. It was a construction ground when we decided to do it, but that's been a very, very helpful for us because as a bakery you thrive off and live off your neighborhood. So going into a neighborhood that is this new, there's 8,000 people next year in a very, very tiny area, and most of them are pretty much our core audience. Is a very spoiled place to be. We don't want to get bigger because bigger is not better. Bigger is more complicated and bigger is way more difficult to keep a consistent quality. So that just needs to naturally grow, but there's no more outlets, there's no more expansions. It is just getting better from here. And now we have an ice cream place as well. And the next thing is going to be something third. We pretty much just want to work with food. We want to work with digging into artisanal craftsmanship, learning about it, see where it can take us, try to master it as well. And the next thing is not going to be ice cream and it's not going to be bread, it's going to be something else. We don't quite know yet, but hopefully in a year or two we're going to be doing something completely different, because for us it's not interesting to do a massive scale, it's interesting to learn a craft and master it. We hope that each branch that we build is just going to get better and better and better, which means that we need to not grow super fast and not be gigantic with anything we do. It's going to be quite small locations. We are not doing two of anything. So now we built Københavns Bageri, no more of that. We built Aurora ice cream, no more of that. And that's probably the two most chain-based franchises. But we don't want to go in that direction. We don't think that it's probably a good idea for the next couple of years financially, but in the long run, we don't think it's what's going to have people keep coming back if they can just get it 14 different places in Copenhagen. And then you just have to master everything differently. It's not about the product anymore, it's about Excel sheets and food cost and blah, blah, blah. We don't want to go into that. So we just want to pretty much attack what we find fun to work with. And see if we can do things differently than what everybody else is doing right now, or better for that.